Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're having a good Monday. We got some Seahawks stuff to talk about. And this has to do with the salary cap, a very interesting topic for Seahawks fans right now, right? There's a lot of debate going back and forth on how much we're going to have, how we should create more, what we should spend it on. This is the stuff that is of particular interest to this team right now because it seems like they're running it back. And if this team is going to run it back, then they really need to make sure they do everything they can to make 2022 good. Because if we're just going to be bad in 2022, why not just blow it up? Why not just blow it up? If we're going to be bad either way, why not at least try to build something for the future? But by running it back, you're not really trying to build something for the future. You're trying to build something for now. So the exact cap space the Seahawks have in 2022, that's pretty important. I believe that as of right now, we're sitting on like 54 million in cap space. Field goals threw some water on the notion that we're actually going to be able to spend that much because we have to earmark most of that money for other things, which is probably partially true. There's also a lot of players that you can let go of in order to save money. Bobby Wagner, LJ Collier, Jason Myers, possibly Gabe Jackson, one or two others, Benson Mayoa, Kerry Hyder. But this particular video is going to concern our rollover cap space from 2021 and whether or not it actually really matters that much. Because we got this tweet earlier this morning from Field Yates where he goes over every team's current unused 2021 cap space rollover. So basically, the way this works is that NFL teams can spend up to a certain amount of money each year against the cap. But whatever money they don't spend, they can choose to roll over into the next year. So if you were a significant amount under the cap in 2021, you're going to be able to spend more money in 2022. Now, you can choose to not declare all of your excess money for rollover, but that's really only something that a team in the playoffs would do because a team in the playoffs might need to use that cap space to pick up a player if somebody were to get hurt. Like if the 49ers lost Bosa and Warner in their game yesterday. So they might need to pick a player up to replace those guys for their game against the Packers. So they need to save a little bit of cap space for that possibility. But for a team that didn't make the playoffs like the Seahawks, that's not really a concern. So this tweet from Field Yates goes over every team's rollover cap space for 2022, and you can see the Seahawks are in the top 5 at over $10.5 million. Only the Jaguars, Eagles, Broncos, and Browns have more rollover cap. The Browns barely have more. They're basically the same, both just over $10.5 million. And these numbers are going to be slightly adjusted. The NFL still needs to audit the incentives and bonuses, which could adjust this number a little bit, but this is probably pretty accurate. This is probably the right idea. $10.5 million in rollover. Hey, that sounds pretty sweet, right? I mean, if you go down this list, you're going to find some teams that have no rollover. I mean, the Giants, one of the worst teams in the league, had basically no rollover. The Patriots had none, essentially. The Rams, the Saints, the Raiders. A lot of these teams are not rolling anything over, so the initial impression when you look at this is, hey, we're rolling over a bunch of money into 2022. That's going to make our job a lot easier. That's going to give us more money to play with. That's going to give us a better chance to build a Super Bowl caliber team. Well, I'm not so sure that that's really true. So let's jump over to Spotrac here and take a look at the 2022 cap hits for the Seattle Seahawks. So you go down this list, and you're going to see a few players listed here who are free agents in this upcoming offseason, but they are still here. And some people are asking, might be asking, why are they here? Because we used void years to lessen the hit on the cap in 2021. So basically, for instance, you have Dwayne Brown here. He's got a void cap hit of $3.5 million. Basically, what this means is the Seahawks took $3.5 million worth of cap hit in 2021 and pushed it to 2022. So the cap hit in 2021 was softened at the expense of us now having a cap hit for a player that is not going to be here in 2022. Dwayne Brown is counting $3.5 million against the cap, even if he's not here. And by the way, extending him does not make this $3.5 million cap hit go away. If you extend him, whatever cap hit he will accrue on that new contract is going to be on top of this $3.5 million. So there's no getting out of this. You're just going to have it against the cap. Nothing you can do to get rid of it. And you've got Dwayne Brown at $3.5 million with that void year hit. Quandre Diggs is at just over $2.5. Gerald Everett's at $2. And Ethan Posick is at $1 million. So you add it all up, that is $9 million in dead cap hits for players who will not be playing for the Seahawks in 2022. Or if they are, it doesn't really matter because the cap hit will still be there on top of whatever additional cap hit you give them in their new contract. So that's basically all of it right there. Yeah, you're talking about $1.5 million left over between those two things. So I don't really understand why this team chose to manage their salary cap the way they did. Last year, I thought they were doing it because they wanted to go all out to win a Super Bowl in 2021. I thought they were doing it because they would go a little crazy with the spending, try to get up close to the cap, use that $13 million to bolster their team in some way, shape, or form, improve their pass rush, improve their offensive line, maybe improve at running back when we had all those injuries, but that never happened. The number that me and the Hawks Nest kept bandying about over the last few months of the season was $13 million. Now, some of that went away because you did have to promote players off the practice squad. Things like Adrian Peterson took a little bit of a sliver out of it. It just added up over time to the point where it was less than $13 million by the end, but it was still significant enough to bring in a couple more players. And we chose not to do that. And that would be understandable if maybe you were trying to take a step back in 2021. You were like, okay, this isn't really going to be our year. We're going to take it easy. And 2022, that's going to be the year we really go for it. 2022, we're going to go for it. We're going to spend a bunch of money. We're going to do everything we need to do. We're going to bring in all these great players. But if that's the case, then why did you do the void years and push dead money, essentially dead money, into the 2022 season? It's basically wiped out whatever advantage you were going to get. So why wouldn't you just put all the void year cap hits into the year the player was actually playing for you? Then you would have gone right up against the cap. Then people like me, it would have made a little more sense. The plan would have actually come together in a way that makes sense on paper. But with the way this played out, I don't understand what the plan was. You basically, I don't know if you would call it robbing Peter to pay Paul, but the salary cap relief that you got yourself with those void years in 2021 did nothing for you, and that relief is just going to roll over into 2022 and cover those dead cap hits. So you've kind of gained nothing from it at the end of the day. I've said before that the only way the void year contracts plus I've said before that the only reason why you would leave $13 million in leftover cap in 2021 was because you had already decided to trade Wilson after the 2021 season. But honestly, I can't even really say that anymore because of the void year hits. So, doesn't make sense to me. If somebody can make sense of it to me in the comments, I would appreciate it. But it just kind of feels like we ultimately accomplished nothing with the way we handled the cap the last couple years. So, that's the status. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Go Hawks.